What's happening, stream? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're back. What a print. Monster PPI print to start the day. All right. We're already opening up 330 points higher. We peaked, I think, about 360, 370 points higher on the session already. So as always, we're going to start off in this daily chart. Let's move this up for you so it's nice and clear, shall we? So what have we got? Weekly model starting to play out. All right. Notice weekly lows down here. We left relative equal lows down here, but we had this low run of liquidity, this trend line liquidity, easy to search for, which we started doing Friday, Monday, Tuesday, dipping into it, but we soaked. Yesterday was tricky as we rotated backwards and forwards in a 200 point range very, very quickly. All right. It was doing those moves very quickly. But as I said to the team in Discord, that volume at the end of the day yesterday, that covering volume and buy volume was a bit of a tell that this print might have been cooler than expected. And from that, we had a good print and a big gap up. So what are we looking at on the daily? All right, we're looking at these highs here into the daily. Does it come and start to liquidate these highs in front of 400? And we're also watching this 20-day moving average. Now, we do have divergence because if I move this to ES, you will see we are already tagging into this 20-day moving average on ES. So you have to be aware. Look at ES, classic formation, fails to get closure below the Bollinger Band, and we do a mean reversion yesterday to 5-day, little pullback, mean reversion to 20-day. So 2 sigma move up. The question is now, are we going to base up here for long enough and let the 5-day catch up and then go back to the Bollinger Bands? They are going to start to do a contraction both on the NQ and the ES, where the Bollinger Bands will do this, all right? And we'll contract before a squeeze up or a dump down. That's very, very probable in the very near future. All right, so going back to here. So yeah, looking for bullish structure today to potentially get involved in as we move down into the hourly. Make sure you can see it all. Right. On the hourly here, what do we have? A very nice W shape, right? Exactly the same on the 4 hour. Here we go, down we go, holds the bottom, and then we get this squeeze breakout on CPI straight up into supply. We are tagging this supply right now from this block going back to, what's this, the 10th, all right, 10th of Jan. How we act up here is key. Do we want to be a buyer up here? Ideally not. All right, this is a huge move, right? 360, 370 point move up on the daily at least. Yeah. And we are tagging into supply. So ideally, we want some structure to play off, don't we, on an hourly? We want some structure. So if it has to do this and base up here and pop above and pull back in, then we can start playing into this next level of supply and aim for these stops, just like we did with these stops all the way back here. Same scenario, dipping into them, same scenario, pushing into them, all right? That's where pain is right now for a lot of traders who are swing short. Ideally, we don't want to be getting involved up here. The better move will be if the market is kind to us and offers a pullback into some structure, into this breakout point. Really don't want to see it pull back all the way down here, all right? If we're starting to get weak all the way down here, I'd be a little bit concerned then that this was an over-exaggerated pump, and if we don't hold it, then we're definitely going back for these lows and the daily lows underneath here, all right? But I don't think we're going to get that today. I think you're going to see bullish momentum remain in the market. I'm definitely bullish in this market, looking for some form of pullback to get involved in. That's what I'd like. We can also think about it from a fib point of view, all right? So we've got this 5-minute right here. We can think about even this CPI candle, how far of this can we pull back? Right now, we're doing a classic bull flag on the red lines here, the 30 and the 38. This is where bull flags like to hang out. I would actually much rather see it come deeper, trap some people and come back upside. But who knows? The market's going to give us what it wants to give us. But the big move on the day has probably been and gone. As we move into lower time frames here, you'll see I've got an anchored view up, this blue line. Price has been supporting that. We're hanging around it for now. So again, a deeper pullback into previous day high would be ideal. If we fail previous day high, there's a good chance that we roll, well, let's call it a zone. If we fail previous day high in this zone, right, if we do something like this into view up, there's a good chance we come all the way back for the CPI low And if we start digging under that, there's a very good chance then that we start rolling over and go into a bearish formation. Now, I don't think any of these moves are going to happen. I'm going to make that clear. I'm very bullish on the day, but I want you to be aware because yesterday swung back and forth very, very quickly. I would like to get involved in flags and dips, which is what it kind of looks like it's setting up here. So one leg, second leg, if it starts to hold this and contain, I'm going to let it shake out at the open. Ideal scenario will be buying somewhere down here. Very good chance it doesn't let that happen, but an ideal scenario will be some form of trap to get involved in for a trade back upside, and then we can go and attack supply overhead. One thing to be aware of, I've been saying it on stream every single day, you must watch your sizing in this market. All right, if you were long at 8:30 for this move up, that's $600 on one micro. You do not need a lot of sizing. Days like this will not make your career. All right, you will need to compound your gains over many, many months, many, many years to have a good career at doing this. But days like this can absolutely set your career back. If you're linking 10, 20, 30 accounts and you go full size, you go and decide you're going to send it with 10 minis in this market, and it does even a tiny pullback on you, you're going to get wrecked. All right, you're going to get absolutely wrecked. So watch your sizing and watch the ATR today. CPI print was good. It wasn't outstanding. All right, it was pretty much in line and 0.1% cooler, but it was enough for the market to get some relief. Inflationary pressure will remain there. I'm watching the treasuries right now. They've mostly cooled off. All right, the closest one has cooled off 2.3%, 5-year down 3%. Interestingly, the 10-year is not adjusting for me correctly, saying it's just down 0.2%. I don't think that's correct. I think it's more likely down 2%. Have a look on that. Yeah, that's a big fall. So Treasury's coming back inside. Have a look at the Dixie. Probably failed that 110 for a drive lower. Yeah, it failed above 110. Now turning back inside. It's done a full mean reversion to its 20-day. And the treasuries aren't too far away, all right? The lower time frame treasuries, like the 1 year and the 5 year, are actually failing their 20 days. And the 10 and 30 year have a little way to go. So watching those, let's have a quick look at the Mag 7. You would expect mostly in here to have a gap up, all right? Amazon, big gap up and fail, all right? Coming back down towards yesterday's open. We've got a couple minutes here to go through it. Microsoft, remember, was one of the weaker ones yesterday. Big gap up, starting to fail, but holding its gains. Sorry, big gap up and fails on Apple. Microsoft looking better. Amazon looking very, very strong. We kept saying all week that's got relative strength in this market. That looks like a classic gap and go, holding previous day levels, previous day open here, looking very, very good. Google the same, gap and go, looks very, very strong. A bit of a pullback off that shove, but it's holding its 5-day, 20-day. Meta starting to get a bump here. Held the 600s, all right, held 590s yesterday, through the 600s today, opening up way high, 614. So looking to break out its current week high on Meta. Nvidia, also nice gap up, holding that range yesterday, curled with this print, but it has a ton of supply overhead. I'd be watching fails at 135 all the way up to 137 there. You've also got 5-day and 20-day and previous day high sat up there together. And Tesla looking good, looking like possible inverse head and shoulders cup and handle type move. If it starts to break out here, watch that move back to yesterday's high of day up towards 422. So lots of supply overhead for a lot of these on the Mag 7, but we are going to look for dips and dips to hold. If that narrative starts changing, we're going to shift, all right? We're going to be looking to sell lower prices if we start to go into a sell kind of pattern and give back this whole move. But until then, I'm looking for traps and dips to hold, to make that really clear. You've got about just over 30 seconds left until the open. Let's get through some of these. So most people in chat are bullish. 65% of you pre-market are bullish. Miguel, good morning. Miguel, DJ Noah, Glenn, Jeff, Mindful Matters, Ryan, Ramus, Steve C, Thumper, Marek, Wisdom Lover, Christy, and Abe. Good morning, everyone. Remember, this book might be thin to start with, so let it shake out. Be cautious with your sizing. Be sensible with your sizing. Ideally, we get dips to hold. We can think about some structure to play off. That's what I would like. Here we go then. 2 seconds to open. 1, let's go. See if we can get a pullback. significant pullback here to get involved in would be really nice. So holding those 220s for now. Looking at the orders on the book, pretty thin really. There's an order most size around 100, around 150, and then another guy around, I'd say around the 50 mark. So way deeper. So if we can get that pullback into and around here, it's definitely something I'd be interested in. Let's change that. That's a bit bright. Morning, Myron. Morning, Eva. So looking for traps and pullbacks to get involved in for bullish momentum. Hopefully it's not going to be that one wick and that be it. Let's move this to a 1 minute quickly just so you can see it came back down into the deep pullback flow zones. Remember, we've got this anchored VWAP off the CPI print above head. Days like these are good days to pass evals if you want to be a little bit more risk on and don't want to risk your PAs. These are good days for evals, right? Because you have huge range. You still have to play structure correctly, but you have huge range. So QQQ coming back to its VWAP right now. All right, so testing and tagging the VWAP. SPY doing the same. So effectively, that's your 830 print VWAP on the ETFs. Coming back in. Let's see if they hold structure here. So that 512.20 level on the Qs is going to be key. On the SPY, we're coming back into some old resistance and holding here. Looking very good for potential bullish moves here. If that's going to be it and it's going to go for a squeeze, it's possible. So watching, again, this anchored VWAP ahead. Do we get a squeeze out here, or are we going to really need a dumperooski first? Let's see. I would have liked something deeper here, but I'm not against joining in if this is going to be the trap and it's going to be really that simple and that quick. Here we go, looking good. Through the anchored VWAP, through that squeeze, joining this long for this move up back towards high of day, moving my stop into the money. Nice and simple. Beautiful move. Holding the deep pullbacks through the anchored VWAP, and we're now looking basically for this to play out. So long here. Moving my stop up, taking partials. Can we get a hold and go? That's what we're asking for. Nice and simple. Any failures back down underneath the anchored VWAP, I become far less interested in holding on to any runners here, as we're just creating a range to start the session. Right, in the first 2 minutes, this is already 63 points on the range, but looking good so far. Do bulls maintain it? Those VWAPs on the QQQ and the SPY holding up very nicely so far. Question is, will it need to trap more short? So I've locked most in here. Again, any flush here, and I'll be taking my runner off. Very aggressive when I'm at the open like this, when the range is that big. If we start to base out, I'll think about adding into a winner here. Holding 250s nicely. Any flush down, I'll just be taking this off in 250. Break even, almost out there on the runner. Looking for 250 to hold, ideally 251s to hold on the Qs. Remember, better buy zone is down here, but if it's going to hold this and do the flag, I want to be involved. But I'd rather stop out here if it's going to do it, let it roll over, and then reaccumulate. But so far, this is looking pretty bullish. Main thesis was on this was the ETFs. Watching the ETFs hold their VWAP there was a bit of a clue. That's a good print here. It looks like it wants to search higher. Watching liquidity on the book at 80, 85s, 90, 300, 310, all starting to stack up. Not huge size on the book, but they are there. So there's money for it to go and search. There's liquidity for it to go and look for. Question is, can we get this breakout of the current high of day in the New York session? Basically, a break of 85 opens the door higher. Again, I haven't moved my stop here. If it comes and tags 50, that's all right. I'll be break even on that runner. I locked in all the way up to 80 there. So from 50 to 80, that's 30 points. Doesn't seem like a lot. It happened in seconds. Stop still sat at 50 as we dance around this anchored VWAP. SPY looking very, very strong. Q's looking good as well. Just got that 20-day moving average overhead on the ES and the SPY. That's going to be key. Q's a little bit weaker than the spiders right now. Oh, knocking me out there. Okay, break even on that runner. Waiting for a new setup now. So a small trade there. Locked in some good money. So just under $300 on that move. Waiting now for the next play to set up. It might be the same play. It might be that it just knocks me out to go higher, and that's also fine. VIX now breaking down, new lower day. VIX can move into an old demand area at 1650 down to 1570. All right, so VIX with a gap down. If it's going to keep flushing lower, that will help the market for a potential squeeze. All right, so this is why we stop break even and we wait. Remember, ideally, the market comes way deeper. That would be very, very nice if it does. I'll be watching that move into previous day high and demand and VWAP around here for some kind of bullish structure. If it fails this and it's clear that it wants to rotate, I'll be thinking about a short all the way down into here. And I think if we get that momentum, there's a good chance we come down into the higher time frame daily liquidity pool, which is low hanging fruit. But this structure today does not suggest to me we want to go and search for it. But things can change very, very quickly. Gonna have a quick look at FinViz. Let's just check it here. I think most of the bank sector, their earnings were good this morning, which will be helping SPY if they are. Can't even get a print on FinViz at the moment. Fantastic. All right, so move into these deep pullback flow zones. Like it says, why you don't hold and keep adding into a trade moving lower. We locked some in. Stop was at 50, letting it come down now. So ideally, we come lower now, all the way down into that demand area, that VWAP. Ideally, we are thinking about something in here to play off. We can also think about that fib from CPI to the high into 50% and the golden zone would be a nice area if we can get a bullish structure to play off. If there's no bullish structure, we won't be buying dips, right? We're just going to let it fail and then think about joining deeper prices, letting it fail maybe all the way down and repricing the whole move. Definite exuberant market. Like I said, the print was good. It wasn't excellent. It was just good. It was enough to get a big relief in this market. Nvidia already red on the day now. Tesla 2.5% up, Meta 2% up, Google 1.2% up, Amazon just under 2% up, Microsoft 1.3% up, Apple 1.5% up. So the big loser there is Nvidia. Closing its gap now. Can it find bids? That's the question. Our range on the day now, just under 100 points in this, first 8 minutes. Right, so big, big range. Watching the tape. Biggest size I can see right now is all the way down at 50. Not at 150, at 50. Way, way lower. So coming into that 38% fib there. Didn't quite make it to 50, which I would have liked. Golden zone fib retracement. So I was just measuring that out on the screen I'm trading in. As we come back up then, driving back upside. So SPY holding its VWAP. QQQ came well under VWAP. Relative weakness on there on the Qs. That it came significantly under its VWAP. Right, I'm talking about the ETFs here, not the futures. I'm watching the ETFs because I'm watching those 830 prints. Those VWAPs become key. We're stuck right now at our anchored VWAP. Are we going to get a squeeze through here now for a drive higher? And this is a key area here. This is where lots of volume has been participating, watching to see if this is the start of the squeeze. Joining this just very small size here, very, very high risk trade here, but thinking if it's going to be early, I know we're in a sell, then I'm going to watch us to take out 80s and then a trade through 80s back towards the high of day. Spiders looking very, very good here. So flow zones holding, no close beneath the deep pullback. They're all holding here. Still in a range on the session, remember. We're still in a range. We haven't extended this range either way yet. Watching that squeeze through the current high of day, if it can do it. Did we tag that there? I think we just about tagged it. Will pullbacks now hold? Is that enough shorts trapped on that last decent pullback to the deep flow zones to hold? That's the question I'm now posing. That I want to get involved on the long side today. Here goes the squeeze then, starting to initiate this squeeze through the highs. How far can we get? I would like us to take out those CPI print highs, really, all the way up into, let's call it 330 and above would be nice if they're going to hold dips. So watching anchored VWAP here. Watching, I've got one eye on the ETFs. These 5-minute bars on the ETFs have not exploded upside yet, but possible flag building on those ETFs. Possible move like this. It's a little bit ugly, but we're going to need this pullback to hold to go higher, basically, is what I'm thinking. If it can't hold, you want to be very, very careful about a run all the way back down. Like I said, we are just in a range, just over 105-point range to start this morning. My bias, though, is higher prices. It's not an ideal area to be buying in. I would have much rather that last pullback failed all the way back down. All the way back down to here would have been very nice. But watching now to see, do we get this liquidity used as a kind of quasi, let's call it, for that move higher? So tapping on 90. Watch the 300s here. If we can get through the 300s, should open the door for that move. Lots of liquidity starting to stack above now. Still pretty thin on this book, but I feel like this is looking good for that quasi move we're talking about, for that higher price. Watch your sizing if you're joining this with me. Here's the break. Watching this liquidity above, watching 300s. Can we get that drive through 300s and then really get going and attack that high above 330? SPY looking good here. Again, only danger right now with the SPY and the ES is that 20-day, right? It's already completed a 2 standard deviation move into the 20-day off the lower Bollinger Bands this week. Same as the Qs, but we're not at the 20-day yet on the Qs. Last shove into 300 selling. I still think we have more juice in this. I'd like to see this really just start to explode. Here we go, starting to look better here. Tapping on 300 through 300. Now we're looking for 330 and above, moving my stop up. And really, I would like to hold a runner all day if we can go and clear out these highs. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Want 300s to hold. Don't want too much of a deep dip here. Wanting 300-ish to hold for that drive higher. Good morning, John. Okay, so really we want 290s, let's call it 290s to 280s to hold for a clear out of the highs. I'm watching very, very carefully the spiders, the SPY, in case we get a divergence here on the move. VIX looking good. VIX sub 17 starting to drop down. I'm watching it for at least another 10 points or 0.10 points lower on the VIX to come into a demand area. That's where I'd like to see it trade into. So if we can time this right, where the VIX fails into that demand area, and the Qs start driving, that would be ideal. All of the Mag 7 now green, right? Everything going green. Nvidia closed that gap, held the bid, 1.3% up on the session now. So found some bids down there after closing its gap. Market very, very bullish this morning. Shallow pullbacks, really. I know this is 100 points, but relatively speaking, when we're 370 points up, it's a fairly shallow pullback. So again, break here underneath 80s. I've become less interested. And I'll just be hands off if we do that. Again, the ES and the spiders tapping on that 20-day. That is definitely key right now. Higher time frame traders know that we've completed a move from the lower Bollinger Bands to the 20-day. That does not mean we can't expand higher, but it's a very obvious move when we do that. We talked about it at the start of the session. On those daily charts, I go over it every day. Where are we in relation to the Bollinger Bands, the 5-day and the 20-day? We're watching this carefully to see if we can go and gun for this liquidity right here. Building lots of liquidity up here now on the hourly. Drive through this, we can get to 380. All right, if we can get through this, through here, then we can go to 380s. Let's tighten that up a bit. Looking good. Beautiful. Definite shelf here. You can see it on the hourly. Big, big shelf of supply. Just want to see us start to chomp through it. It might take some time today, but I would like to see us just starting to chomp through it. So holding 300s pretty well for now. Don't want a deep pullback to just slam in our face all the way down to 260s, which is very possible. So we just want this to squeeze. We're looking for squeezes upside. We're looking for those shorts in the New York session to be trapped. This is lovely now. So very close to that 330 there. That last push, 18s, we're only 12 points away. Here we go. Looking for that move. Watching ES as well. We want to make sure we don't get a liquidity sweep and a failure inside across the indexes. But I still feel like today feels like just a higher, higher, higher type of day. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Almost there, team. So make sure you're locking some in. Lovely trade here as we approach the 30s that we talked about. We run 30s. We might well get a very big candle if there's a lot of stops up there. We might get a explosion straight through 30. So just make sure you are paying yourself. All right, this is a beautiful trade. Much bigger than you would think, right? Once you go back and check the amount of points we've just done together as a team here. There's 30. There's a push selling some into that move. Lovely. Here's the expansion. All right, so next stop, all right, then we're going to look for is, what did I say, up towards 80s. Oh, we've got some liquidity sat around 75, 80, and then through that 400 and 450. Lovely. So hopefully we get some W's in chat here because that was a beautiful trade to start the day. If you're one and done, you just made your money. Walk away. Happy days. Flow zones paying yet again. All right, very simple system. We were talking about possible trap. There's your trap underneath. Reclaim, holding the deep pullback into here. Quasi or head and shoulder, whatever you want to call it. Flag, flag, flag into liquidity. Pay yourself some money. All right, low hanging fruit was here. That's now gone. All right, so make sure you're paying yourself some money. Aid just banked on another 4 combines. Great work, my friend. All right, so all planned out before we took it. We planned it all out. Good work, Thumper. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Same thing we do every single day, guys. All right, repeatable patterns. That's all we're looking for. Is bullish on the session. Like I said, I wanted to play bullish unless it became very, very clear that this was a pump to dump. But for me, this is a very, very bullish model, both on where we are on the daily is more important than anything. Everyone that's done the course or doing the course, the weekly model is suggesting higher prices right now. John Dennis made 1,750 times 3, so across 3 PAs. Lovely work. So drop me a W in chat if you made some money on that. Hopefully you should still be in runners. Hopefully some of you still have a little bit left, even if it's 1 micro. Just hold that runner, because if we're going to go and trend day to day higher and search for that liquidity, remember we've got targets here on the higher time frame. This is the low hanging fruit. These guys here, this stop, this guy's stop, this guy's stop, this guy's stop. We might want to go and chomp that up. What does that look like? Remember these patterns that you're going to look for on the dailies. This is the same as this guy's stop, this guy's stop, this guy's stop, this guy's stop. These are buyers who got liquidated for this move. Now we're looking to liquidate the sellers who were swing short. Imagine you were short here, all right, and you're holding runners, or maybe you didn't cover any and you're coming back in. You are going to start covering your position. Covering that position is a buy. It's a market buy when you cover your position as a short. Okay, so that's what we're looking to attack. Very nice work, team. All right, so once the low-hanging fruit goes, you have to be cautious. Why I'm always saying pay yourself some money. Low-hanging fruit was that trade through the CPI highs. Aid with a W, Steve C with the W, Glenn with the W, love to see it, buddy. Aaron with the W, Jeff with the W. John Dennis said, thank you, Alex. I've renamed you Sensei of Day Trading. Hey, once you have a system and you understand how to stick to the system, it gets much easier. All right, it gets much easier. The two common problems in day trading are people not having a system, so they're randomly clicking buy and sell and getting married to ideas when the trade thesis is now wrong. All right, so you've got to be happy or okay with being wrong. It's okay to have thesis that's wrong. It's okay to have trades that don't work. Just take them off. You can always get back in the market. Just take them off. Yaya 1985, newbie here with a W, nice work. Brian with a W, Priska with a W, top seller, 2K green already. Love to see it, team. So do me a favor, if you're enjoying the stream, if you've made some money, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I'm here Monday to Friday. From pre-market, we do a little bit of analysis from 10-15 minutes before the market opens. I always go through the higher time frame analysis so you can understand what I'm looking at, so you can learn what I'm doing, and then we start trading together. As I said, low hanging fruit here has gone. It doesn't mean it can't go higher. Maybe it wants to base here to go higher, but we're a little bit extended from these flow zones now. Our current volume on the day really is hanging down at 266. So point of control on the session. How am I seeing that on the hourly? Point of control on the session. Most of the volume is down here at 266. So buying high here to trade higher is a little bit too high risk for my appetite once we've gone and taken the liquidity. So I would way prefer, again, the same kind of thing over and over again. I want to see some form of trap, right? Can we get a trap and then use these guys' stops to go higher if I'm going to play this again for the upside? But your easy trade on the day, trust me, it's just happened, right? The easiest trade on the day has happened. If you're holding runners, that's fine. But we were looking for that push through the CPI high, which we just got. The red line with the W as well. All right, so we have a buyer stacking on the book, biggest buyer on the book now at 21,200. So here's the fail after taking the liquidity. All right, that's why I was saying I don't like buying the highs. Pullbacks into flow zones now. Now I'm going to just let this shake out. We're still really early in the day, team. We had a very nice trade there, and we're 23 minutes into the day. That's all we are. So just going to let this shake out a little bit, because anyone with any sense like us has taken that move up and sold their position. We need to let structure start to base. On the intraday, the breakout is here. So really we should come and back test this. Do we find buyers there for a trade upside? Or do we do like some kind of fib move, maybe off this low of day to here, same kind of area? Make sure I've got that right. All right, do we find buys into this area for a move back up? That would be ideal. We continue to be looking for buys. I'm not flipping my thesis for shorts, but I want good areas to play off. So really two-leg pullbacks, trapping some more shorts, then I'm interested. Nice work, team. Lovely work. Left you on the wrong chart, haven't I? So looking for continuation here, but looking ideally for a trap into a fib and a breakout level. And then I'll think about it if we start to show bullish momentum back upside. We know shorts have their stops there. We can attack them. Otherwise, I'm just going to be hands off for a second, right? We've done the good move. If this wants to roll all the way down and then come even deeper, it will do, and that's okay with me. In fact, that's fantastic for me. We're going to come and start searching down here. If we start to fail down here and fail these structures, we have to be very careful. All right, if it does something like this, then we're going to go all the way back down into these pools of liquidity. But easy trade has been and gone. The easiest trade so far on the day has been and gone. Now we just let it shake out. Be hands off your mouse. Don't be clicking buttons. Be hands off your mouse. All right, because we've gone and taken the obvious level of stops. So often, if I wasn't streaming, often I'd be one and done on a trade like that. Remember, we probably pushed up to somewhere over 400 points there, I would say, on that peak. It's a big move. If you were looking at daily ATRs, it's a pretty big move. If you look at the ES and look at the SPY, again, a little push over the 20-day. It's trying to base out around that 20-day. VIX almost made it to demand, right? I've got demand drawn out at the start of around 1660. It tagged into 1665. So maybe a little bit of buying in front of the demand pool. That demand pool is quite big. It goes all the way down into mid 15s. Remember, all the time we're trading into mid and low teens on the VIX, the market is very bullish. The lower that VIX goes, the better for the market in terms of bullish momentum. QQQ looking good. Watching a 5-minute chart looking very good. Holding all gains. This is potentially looking squeezy here, I will say yet again. I would like to see this come much deeper. I really don't want to be buying highs today, but it is possible. It is looking good. Looking at a 5-minute chart on the Qs and on the SPY is looking pretty good. Again, made my money. It's going to be hands off here for a minute. We are into supply. As a reminder, we are into supply, but this is not fresh. All right, anyone who does Malaysian SNR, this up here, oh, wrong thing. When we're looking at fresh levels, fresh stops, this up here is fresh, hasn't been tagged into. This is fresh, hasn't been tagged into. But this level here, all right, we've searched for it once, and then we did create supply here, search for it again, and then fail. So we're inside it once. Maybe now we can start driving through this wick here. That's what I'd like to see. Can we get through or up to sort of 370, 375? We might need to come and create some form of structure. Point of control here. Really, this would be a very nice play. That would be beautiful. Why? Because we have a base. Pull back. Move up. What do we want? We want RBS. Resistance becomes support. We want a value buy down here. We really don't want to be buying up here. If we do, we're thinking about left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and we're looking for continuation. The better move, the nicer move where we have better value would be way lower. Then we can have much better RR. If we're joining here, all right, if we get a bullish pattern here and our risk is here and our reward is up here, that's a huge move. If we're joining here, we have to have a tight stop, and it's more like a 2-to-1, 1-to-1. This is probably more like a 6-to-1, 7-to-1 type of trade. Hopefully that makes sense to you all. So just letting this cool down for a moment. It is building momentum. It is holding flow zones, but definitely look at the volume. Volume starting to taper out a little bit. That's with the pullback though. That is a healthy pullback volume. That's what you want to see. You want to see big moves up happen on volume, and you want to see pullback with lower volume. And then you'd want to see this breakout have a big bar. Flow zone's holding. Remember, multi-time frame is saying higher. The only issue is that we've gone and taken this white line here. We took it. All right, that was our key level of liquidity. But we are looking good here. QQQ and SPY looking very good. SPY about to do a new higher day. So is ES. QQQ lagging a little bit behind. Mag 7 looking very, very strong. Bonds looking weak. I don't understand what's going on TradingView. My 10-year on the bonds is completely wrong. Bizarre that. Anyway, I know it's down huge. That's all that matters, I guess. It's telling me it's almost flat on the day. It definitely isn't. It's about 2% down. Got absolutely smoked today on those bonds. So definitely exuberance in the market right now. So you're thinking about, is this going to be a flag and go after that dip? And can we start expanding? Remember, you're looking at a move towards that next wick would be towards 380 if you're going to take this. I'm not in this. All right, I was looking for a lower price. Pretty happy with the trade I already took. So just chilling out here for a moment. If you're going to look for this, you're looking for a move to 380. Remember, the problem here is your stop size is probably 1-to-1R. But a move to 380, a move through 380, you really open the door for that next level of supply. And then you'll be looking for 420, 450. Explosion through 450 will be important. You've got an old point of control there. Lots of volume at 450. Here you go. So here's the move for you. If you took it, congratulations. If you held your runners, even better. And then we're going to look for a move all the way up to 650 if we can get through sort of the 450s. I know it sounds like a lot, but I've seen weirder things. We've done monster moves before. But watching this liquidity now, don't be attacking this too high, guys. All right, don't be attacking this. This was actually very nice here. This was the type of move we were talking about. 380s, pay yourself some money in this move. And congratulations if you took it. Expanding the range here. We're almost at a 200-point initial balance already. It doesn't feel like it, but we are. That's what we're at. 181-point initial balance. Chomping through that supply. Cannot say it enough. Chomping through this supply pool here. We're getting through this one. Can we get to this one? Lovely work, Jeff. Lovely work. Crawford, no, I didn't take it. All right, I called it. I said what I'd be looking for. I didn't take it. All right, I really want a deep pullback. But, you know, I said it looked very, very squeezy. If you go and rewind, it looked very squeezy. The ETFs look very bullish right now. They're holding gains really well. VIX still has some more downside to come. I really want to see VIX tag into 1650, possibly all the way down to 1570. Remember, the lower the VIX goes, the better for the market. Great work, Jeff. All right, guys, if you're up huge today, if you're having a big day today, which it seems like a lot of you are, make sure you're setting a level in your head that you are not going to let your account go below. Let's say you're up 4 grand. Let's say, right, I'm not going to let my winnings go below 3,500. If I get to 3,500, I'm done. I'm out for the day. What I don't want to hear is you traders who are up massive, risking more and more and more and more and more, and then letting your day go back to break even, or even worse, go to red. Right, so make sure. Crawford, it all depends which account I'm playing. So 50Ks I'm always playing micros, and in the 150Ks often playing minis. But right now in this market, you could easily play micros. I did play micros this morning in this market on the 150Ks because the range is huge. The range is huge, so you don't need size. Like I said to the team that trade with me in Discord, all the members, like one micro in that move pre-market for CPI, it would have paid you $600. If that was a mini, it would have been $6,000, but your risk would have been massive, absolutely massive. But no reason to say sorry, Crawford. You're welcome to ask whatever you need. Almost there with the likes team. Good work. 15 more, please. Let's get it up to 50. And then I'm going to set new challenges each week because we're starting to grow this stream now. As more people turn up and learn the system and become consistently profitable, we're going to get more and more people being here rather than on these shitty other channels who are just making you gamble. They want you to blow up and then they want you to pay them for more evaluations, right? Which is very, very common across the board, as I'm sure many of you know. So extended here, we can think about extensions, lower time frame on these fibs from this high to this low. All right, and we just tagged into the 1.5, almost 161. So expecting a pullback. Again, if you're going to be in this, you're looking for this area to hold. The moment you start to get failures in here, be very, very cautious how it might use that liquidity to come lower. But we are multiple time frame higher. It says it right here. Multiple time frame, lower time frame, higher time frame, bullish. So Do we hold this structure here and go back up, right? So resistance becomes support, RBS, very, very simple. Can we get a pullback into it? But this extension here, for those who don't know, you measure from this high to this low, and this will give you an idea of where it will want to go in each leg. So coming into 1.5, can we get to 1.16, and through that 100% move, which will be up here. All right, so if you entered here, your risk here, this is a huge move. So make sure you're paying yourself some money. Still have liquidity above. For sure there is liquidity above. I have an H1 wick up here, which I expect us to take. Is that a double top in it? Let's just make sure we haven't taken that, shall we? 72s. Yeah, we did just take it. So definitely pay yourself a little bit. Through that, then I think 89s. Through that, 435. All right, but we did just take that H1 wick. If you want to see what I'm looking at, let's just go to here. This right here. This guy right here. We just took. So that's a run of stops. So traders playing off H1. That's a run of their stops. There we go. Tagged it. So expecting a pullback now. Question is, do they hold this? Do they come deeper? Failure under here, we might get a change of character and lower. All depends how high this is willing to go today. Remember, we've built out quite a significant part of liquidity here, so I wouldn't want to see it hang around here too much. For bullish structure, I don't mind a dip underneath and a hold, even better. But really, you want to see it hold between 344 and 300s, let's say, for continuation higher. Aaron, that's amazing to hear. I'm happy you're learning. I'm happy that the channel's helping you. That's why I built it. So Aaron and Taylor saying, I know I'm not in the chat a lot, but your channel has been the most educational and beneficial for me. That's great to hear. Hopefully you're on your way to consistency. So flow zones still holding, structure still bullish. Remember, here is your structure. You are still bullish. Flow zones are green. We are here. We are multi-time frame green, and we're just attacking supply ahead. Do not be the guy who wants to be a hero and pick a top. That's how you blow up, all right? All these guys that thought they were going to be a hero and pick that top, they got wrecked, all right? And we attack heroes. That's what we like doing. People that pick tops and bottoms, they're the liquidity that we go and hunt for. What is this red line up here? Let me just check this. Wow. Okay, we're almost at the 50-day on the ES. Let me check that on the spiders. A little bit longer to go on the spiders. Great move. What a move. What a mean reversion move. All right, just make sure you're not getting trapped up here, okay? Understand, market wants to move higher, but you are buying high, right? So you are buying very high on the session now. 450 points higher than the close yesterday. Just understand that, risk accordingly, right? You're not in a value buy here as we search for higher prices. It doesn't mean I'm telling you to short. It's fine to continue to look for longs, but just be careful in terms of your risk. At some point, there might be a pullback here, which is more meaningful. Liquidity on the tape here, 21,400. There's a 200 lot there, there's an 84 lot above him, and then there's a 50 lot at 450. So they're going to search for this liquidity at 400 here. There will be an exchange here into 400, that whole level. If we drive up there, probably likely that the ES gets to around 992, 993. That's where the 50-day is, and then you've got that whole number of 6,000 above. Yeah, exactly. Small caps trader, beautiful squeeze. Beautiful squeeze. And if you're a small caps trader, you will be absolutely used to understanding what squeezes look like. So clearing out most the liquidity here. Just keep referencing back to your H1, all right? I want you to keep referencing back to the H1. We've cleared this guy now, all right? We've taken his stops out. So this is the supply that we're aiming for. We came up here 1 hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. We've retested this area of supply up here after that drop base, and that's the retest drop, right? So we have to understand up here that there's a lot of sellers present. Doesn't mean we can't run them out the market, but just understand every time we've come up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the 9th time visiting up here. Every time we've come up there before, we've found sellers, right? So just understand that. That's what I'm saying. Understand it's fine to be searching for higher prices as long as you understand your setup. Flow zones are still holding. Every RBS is still holding right now. All right, we had the trap here that we got long for, and now every single RBS, resistance becomes support, resistance becomes support. You need to see the same thing here, but this is not much of an extension. And we probably did the measured move from here that we talked about. So just above the 161, finding some sellers up here for now after sweeping H1 liquidity. It does not mean it can't go higher, but you have to ask yourself, how high on a session do you want to be buying? Well, remember, where we executed trades was 100 points lower. We were buying all the way down here this morning, and ideally I wanted to buy all the way down here. That's just me being a value buyer wanting to buy down here for this rotation. Didn't happen, and I said there's a very good chance it won't happen if enough shorts are caught, which it definitely seems like they are. So small caps trader, you were in calls overnight on MU, Amazon, and QQQ. Wow, well, you should be up very nice. Good work. Nice read. Yeah, that volume at the end of the day on that MOC imbalance, that volume on that last 1 minute candle yesterday was a tell. I can show you what I'm talking about. Let's just take this off and go to regular for a second. This volume right here was a bit of a tell, wasn't it? Look at this volume. Hopefully you can see that. That's on a 1 minute chart. That is huge. There's nothing like it. Even at the start of the day, we're not even close. You can go back weeks and weeks and weeks. There is not much volume as big as that. That was a bit of a tell that shorts were not interested in holding overnight. So good for you for having a good read on that in calls. What's the expiry on those small caps trader? When do those expire? Are those weeklies expiring tomorrow and Friday, or are you way out? You'll be in the money, but I mean way out in terms of expiry. Starting to see some selling here in front of 400. I'm not in anything here, team. I've taken my trade. Honestly, I had a very, very nice trade there. I'm not fixated on pushing too hard. Let's put it that way. But trend very, very clear. Upside trend. Next target through 400s. 400 psychological level. Then I think we have a trade up to 430. Through 430, we have a trade up to 450. Lots of liquidity there. Through 450, we have a trade up to 475 and then 515. Point of control, an old point of control we can revisit is 447, 450. So I'd be watching for a squeeze through 400 if it really wants to get going here for that move into the old point of control. You can see it here on the higher time frame. Right, this old point of control right here. Lots of volume up here. QQQ today and tomorrow. Already closed MU and Amazon next month. Lovely. Yeah, Amazon, I don't know if you were here on stream yesterday. I think you were. Amazon has shown amazing relative strength. If you look at the days where we've been in sales, Amazon has been holding up really well. And that, for me, if I was looking at swings for calls or even to buy commons, that's something I'd want to see. That's telling me that when we're going to go bullish, we're going to go really bullish on Amazon. Some sell pressure here in front of 400. Didn't quite make it. That 220 lot still sat there. Still think we have a chance to reach higher today. Oh, nice. Thank you, small caps. Appreciate that. So some selling here in front of that 400. Remember, liquidity, lower time frame liquidity, their stops are going to be right here. So if we're going to attack those buyers and run them out the market, we might come down into this pool here after running them, and then we need to see. If we get stuck here, I would be very cautious on lower time frame and zooming out. I'd be very cautious if we start to get stuck underneath sort of 320s. Traps are possible underneath here, I would say, for that move back to 400. But there is a big seller on the book there. ES really wants to come up to that 50-day. It's very, very close. And that 6,000 mark, right? Makes sense for 6,000. I haven't looked at SPX, but I'm sure there's some options, option walls up into that kind of area. Let's have a quick look. SPX. SPX has got a while to go. It's only trade. So probably SPX, probably 950 is probably a bit of an option wall up there, I would imagine, and then through that 6,000. You're looking good here, team. Are any of you still holding your runner? Hopefully some of you are holding it. All right, if any of you are holding this or an ad here and holding it, you're still looking good. Just move your stop up. Make sure you're paying yourself each time and hopefully looking for runners to keep exploding upside. Shorts are getting wrecked today. You should not be looking short in there. There's absolutely no reason to be looking to sell this market today. You should just be looking for ways to join it. Yeah, 1985. How do I know this 220 on the book is a seller? Well, I'm going to assume he's not holding a buy limit there at 21,400 above us when we're up 470 points on the session, right? So he's actually 244 lot up there. And I can see him, he's just passive on the tape. So he's just left his order on the tape and he's looking to get filled. There's no way he's going to be a buyer up there for an explosion higher. He's a passive seller waiting to get filled. Any liquidity above us will be selling liquidity. Any liquidity below us is likely to be buying liquidity on the bid and on the ask. Why would you want to buy 400, right? You'd want to buy dips or you'd want to buy a breakout right in front of us, right? So here we go, tapping into and around him. Didn't quite fill him there, almost filling him. Watching to see if he gets filled here. 220 on the book there. Very, very close. Probably going to pop straight through him, I would think. There we go. He just got filled. So he moved down a little bit and got filled. And there's a new order. It's probably him. 128 lot up at 425 now. So refresh seller, 25 points higher. So if you're in this, congratulations. A very nice trade. You should just continue to trade upside here. 425, the next guy on the book. And like we said, we can keep attacking these H1 levels. 430 is a big level on the H1. And that old point of control, 444, somewhere around there. ES closing in on that 50-day. 990 now. I think 992 or 995-ish. 994, 995 will be that 50-day moving average. Through that, it's going to go for that 6,000 mark on the ES. Looking very, very strong here, this market. So lower time frame sellers trying to pick heroes, picking tops. Another flag, squeezed, flow zones holding. All dips holding today. We are in a trend day higher so far. 10 days until we print, 10 days, 10 minutes left until we print that initial balance. 10-day initial balance would be weird, wouldn't it? So almost there. So make sure you're paying yourself a little bit of money as you expand higher. I'm also going to do is think about a measured move of this CPI pullback. We are coming into that 161 kind of area for this flag pullback. A full expansion would be 470. All right, so interesting that this is a little bit higher than that liquidity point of control, but this is lining up pretty nice right now. So the higher we go, the less and less I like longs, as you can tell. I like to be a value buyer. I like to buy low to drive higher. And hate buying high to go higher. Sometimes you have to do it. Today is one of those days. We look at 5-minute chart, very, very bullish, right? Very, very bullish. Here's your breakout. So if you struggled to see this earlier, here's your break and retest. This is the same break and retest squeeze. So continuation higher. If you struggle to see patterns, like I always say, use a line chart or put a 1 MA on your chart on top of your candlesticks. It will help you see the patterns. So refresh selling here in front of 15 and then 25. So 125 lot around the 12 mark, 12.50. And then 425, you've got 130 lot up there. Very, very close to that 50-day. Very, very close to the 6,000 mark on the ES. But looking good here, team. You're looking very, very good. What I'd be cautious of is this trend line liquidity. These guys here, at some point, some of these bulls are going to get swept. The fact that it hasn't swept any bulls yet, what do I mean by that? We've never broken a pivot low to trap. The fact that it hasn't done that says to me at some point it will punish bulls who chase late. It will do something like this and then go for the return up. Doesn't need to be now, but at some point. So just be aware of that. If you're playing this to the long side, be proactive. Make sure you're paying yourself some money. Make sure your stops are in the correct positions. $50-day there, holding up for now on the ES. So remember, we're into that pool that I said this is the 10th time visiting it on the H1. We are into that pool. We talked about it earlier on stream. All these H1 wicks over here. Look how many times we've visited into this imbalance and filled. Many, many, many times. Doesn't mean we can't get through it, but you have to respect the sellers up here. Does this all make sense to everyone on stream? Hopefully. Most of you now, I think, have done the course. Most of you have done the course, and so you understand what we're looking for and what we're talking about. You have a 221-point range in this initial balance for the session. 8 minutes left. All that to be set. Any questions while we're in this, just let me know. And while this hangs around, I'm going to go and grab myself another coffee. All right, I'll be right back. There we go. I'm back. You're very quiet today, chat. Very, very quiet. What's going on? 220-point range. Madness, yeah. Big old range on the IB. We've had it for a while now, haven't we? I think it will continue to stay this way, this market, until we settle down. What do I mean by settle down? Until we start to calm down in terms of high inflation, low inflation, stagflation. Once we start to just slow down a little bit in this market and we start to become more consistent, if we start to go back into a slow, grindy, bullish trend, it's going to be easier. At the moment, we are still in a bearish market. If you look at the daily charts, we go to a daily chart here. All right, we're still, if we think about pivot, there's your high, lower low, lower high, equal low. Lower high, lower low. This can just still be a pullback, all right? This was a pullback. The question is, do sellers come in? If I was going to think about this, where would I be going from? This pivot to here. I'd be starting to think about, do sellers come back in this golden pocket, All right. So if that happens, it might happen today. Maybe we squeeze through it and then we fail later in the week, or maybe we get through it and we base and we go all the way up for these liquidity and this Bollinger Band, which would trend down. All right. So this is why I'm saying I hate buying too high. If I'm buying near the golden zone fibs, if I'm buying near supply, is that a good location? No, it's a terrible location the higher we go to buy. Terrible, terrible location. Momentum is amazing, upside momentum. Location gets worse and worse. I'd almost rather we get through it, pull back, flip these sellers into buyers, and then join at that point. Right? Otherwise, we're going to get some sell at some point today. All right, so that's what you need to think about with the higher time frame narratives. No worries, Tyson. I don't know if you got any of this today. Sounds like possibly not, but I hope you're good, buddy. I hope everything's going well, and you have a good day. And I'll speak to you in Discord soon, I'm sure. So some selling pressure coming in here. We have bids on the tape here, just slamming straight through these bids so far. So we might go and clean up this liquidity. Remember, we talked about these buyers have not been liquidated once today. Every single pullback is being soaked. At some point, I would expect those buyers to be liquidated, and then maybe we can think about going higher again. That's great. Happy to hear that, Jeff. Two things really key to my strategy, and they should be key to every strategy. What is the momentum and what is your location? If your location's good and the momentum's good, you can get involved in that trend. If the momentum's good but the location's bad, you need to be very cautious about getting involved. And if momentum's bad but the location's good, there's absolutely no trade set up at all. Yeah, so if location's good and momentum's bad, that's when you get into the kind of scenario of, okay, well, I think we're in supply now, but momentum, if I'm a seller, is bad, I'm going to sell and add and add and add and add and blow up. Right, same for dip. So that's where most traders go wrong. They can identify where supply is probable to be, but the market likes to wreck people first, right? And it likes to go further than it should. It likes to hunt those stops. So if you don't wait for the momentum to be on your side, it's very hard to risk against. And also you have to remember, really, these markets are built to go up. Long term, they want to go up. What do I mean by that? The ETFs are rebalanced. We just had a rebalancing. So we had the weakest player or players in the QQQ. Remember, there's only 100 stocks in the QQQ. The weakest ones are removed and they're replaced by stronger stocks, right? So stocks that are performing well, outperforming, they get put into that ETF. They get put into the QQQ. Same for the ES, SPY, but you've got 500 stocks there. So you have to understand, long term, they're built to go up. That's why they're good investment opportunities. Every deep pullback you get on the markets, every bear market you get, long term as an investor is a buying opportunity. Don't take my advice though. I'm not a financial advisor, but that's what I would be doing. And if you're looking for individual stocks, buy relative strength. Those stocks which are holding up or even green on days when the market's bleeding, like Amazon's been the last few weeks, that is telling me that that is a strong stock in this market right now. All right, so possible bit of a rounding pattern happening here. Can still be a flag, but possible starting to round. If it's going to attack stops, it's going to attack these guys down here. Like we said, these buyers have not been liquidated out the market yet. At some point, they're going to be liquidated. And just remember, we did almost, what's the pullback now? We did just under 500 points so far on this morning drive without liquidating anyone. All right, so 500 points higher without any buyers really being liquidated. Remember, all the way from down here. We've just been slowly going uptrend, 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 squeeze pattern, explosion, squeeze pattern, explosion. So buyers in full control, but at some point you would expect market makers to say, all right, enough's enough. Let's not make it too easy for these guys. Let's take some of their liquidity first and decide what's next. But let's see. Still has targets above. I'm not saying to short this. It is not a short. We're multiple time frame higher. We're still holding trend Every dip is still holding. But I'm not really interested in being a buyer up here now. Maybe it's me being stingy, right? Maybe it's me just being stingy. But I'm not really interested in being a buyer. You've got 15 seconds left until we set that initial balance. Remember, IB rules will apply. Your IB will be here and here. All right, so a failure to hold above here will open a rotation to VWAP. A base above here will be a squeeze. A failure VWAP will be a move back to IB low. What you can do today is put a VWAP on based on that 930 print. That might be useful. So let's do one of those as well. I might take off that CPI VWAP. 930, which candle are you? This guy here. All right, into deep pullbacks. And at anchor, you can go. All right, so IB now set for the day. All right, IB at the high of day. You will need a sustained bid above the initial balance to have a trend day. If it fails to put a sustained bid above the initial balance, you can go into a rotational day. That rotation, right, if we fail to bid above here, fail breakout above it, anything like that, a rotation can be back into VWAP, right? That is a common trade. Sustained above here, continuation higher trades are on the table. All right, so initial balance rules now apply. So if any of you want to look at the market today, if you want to head over to FinViz, it is so green. There's only what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'd say there's about 20 stocks out of the SPY that are red on the day. Everything is in a monster green session. Idris, yeah, maybe that pullback around there, but I feel like we need to liquidate some of these levels. The fact that we've set the initial balance and we're starting to fail off it might come and liquidate these. And do we find buyers here, or do we start to actually rotate all the way down to this VWAP down here? But let's see. Let's see what we get, shall we? Just hands off for a minute, letting it shake out. Sorry about that, Dean. Let's see what you said. The way you speak between trades is awesome. You help so many people. Other YouTube streams just talk BS and talk about themselves constantly. Thank you for being the best. Oh, very kind of you, Dean. Thank you. Yeah, like we talked about yesterday, I'm not very entertaining. I'm not offering you much entertainment. I'm trying to offer knowledge as much as possible, which probably shoots myself in the foot because if you're here long enough, you pick up all my strategies without doing the course, probably. But it's okay. I'd rather help people and you guys have something informative than be peacocking all the time, which is what I feel like other streams do. And I also learned from bad teachers back in the day, so I understand that struggle. I went through it. I had lots of bad habits I had to clean up. Just watching this market here to see how it acts. There is still liquidity above 410 and 425, 100 lot on both of those above on the book. Big buyer down at 275, all right, and another big buyer at 200. We're talking 200 plus lots. So 275, where would that be? He's way down here, and 200. All right, so he's looking to get filled down here. He's hoping this market rolls and picks him up down here. Maybe it will. Who knows? Tie could be the start of a mean reversion. Yeah, absolutely could be the start of a mean reversion. All the time we're inside this initial balance. The opportunity to pull back to the VWAP. This is a 930 VWAP. This is your VWAP, which is constant. The opportunity to do that is there for sure. But remember, any short in this session so far right, will either be a range rotation short or a counter trend short. We are bullish on the hourly, on the 4 hour, and on the lower time frame. On the daily, technically we're still bearish, right? On the daily, this is a bullish day, but in terms of structure, on the daily, we are going to be bearish technically on the daily until we take out 21,900. Just in terms of structure for these moves. Hopefully you have all paid yourself a handsome amount of money today and are looking good. So is it going to set up another flag, or is this going to be the first failed attempt to go higher and a sweep of some of these levels? That's the question I would pose right now. Give you an idea of what I'm looking at on the other screen. Right, this right here is the ES, and you can see 50-day right here and 50-day right here on the SPY. So I'm watching those closely. Remember, we've done a trade off the lower Bollinger Bands through the 5-day, through the 20-day, and now pretty much at the 50-day. I rarely look at the 50-day, honestly, but today, because it was such a big extension, I was interested in it. And this feels like the start of some selling here, right? So starting to sell the market down here, starting to aim for some of that liquidity we talked about. Remember, these bulls have had it far too easy. Every dip holding without being liquidated, far too easy. So first lot liquidated, second lot would be here, third lot would be here. This is where all their stops are on the session. If you are bullish here, your stop's here. If you are bullish here, your stop's here. If you are bullish here, your stop is here. So it's trying to liquidate some of these players out of the market now. And remember, mean reversion trade, or that initial balance trade, rotation to VWAP lightly. IB high, stuck at IB high, into and around VWAP is often a common trade. We talk about it pretty much every day on stream. So this is like an edges plays scenario, all right? This here failed to break higher. That's your clue that it's going to liquidate people. And the trade into VWAP is a very common trade off the IB high. Remember, we talked about those big players. He's at 275 and around 200. There is some smaller guys ahead of him, but that's definitely the biggest size on the book right now. The VIX also, remember what I said about the VIX? Once it drops into 1660 and below, it's going to hit demand. Let's have a quick look at the VIX. It's a 10-minute. I have a demand box down here on my other screen. So we have hit into that level. All right, so I know there have been buyers on the tape here before. So again, I'm just playing across all thesis. Understand what the markets are looking to do. Where might some buyers come into the market on the VIX? If they come in there, does that time with where sellers might come into the market for a little bit on the Qs and on the spiders? If VIX continues to fail, it can fail all the way down to low 15s today. If this is enough of a liquidation event here, ran these stops, then that might be enough to go higher. Again, the easiest trade now will be above the initial balance high, right? You will know we're in a trend trade. If we can get above here, base, it's a potential trend trade higher. Soaking off the 20-day on the SPY and on the ES there. So traded from the 50-day down to the 20-day, down to the 5-minute flow zones, soaked off that, and a reaction straight up high. Didn't even get to VWAP here, did it? Not even close. So much strength in this market so far. So a little bit squeezy here. Those sellers above just lifted. 410 and 425, they just lifted. So I am curious now if we get that break above the initial balance high, or if they just sell this back down, if this is the pop to drop or not. We only liquidated one set of buyers there, interestingly. Sentiment for the day technically is still bullish, but we're running out of liquidity to aim for. We've shifted point of control up here now. So this is POC on the day. You can see we've shifted it. This white line here, we've shifted point of control up here. So all the time we're holding point of control around here, buyers can be in control. If we start to dump underneath it, then the buyers at and above point of control will be underwater, and that's when you can get a liquidation event where we stop run lower. Plenty of time left in the session, guys. All right, we're only just over an hour into the session. Lots of movement today, but you have plenty of time left to make some money. Plenty of trades will set up today, whether those be rotational trades or trend days. We will see shortly. A 20-day here on the SPY, on the ES. Trying to hold up. I'm going to wait here, either a deeper pullback or something above the initial balance that gets my interest. That's what I'm waiting for right now. One or the other. I don't fancy trying to be a seller today, even though we can go into a sell. I'll join that trade later if it's going to do it. I definitely don't fancy trying to pick the sell here for a mean reversion type trade. It is possible. Technically, we're inside the IB. Technically, you could say that's a cheap trade for a rotation for TP1, TP2, TP3, and if we really get heavy all the way down here. But I just don't like the idea of that when we have strength in the market. Jane Joy says, I'm from Kenya and no one understands why I'm fixated on this channel since I discovered it. You're the best. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining all the way from Kenya. So looking to be a sniper in this market and attack the market when I think there's a new trade set up. My bias is long biased on the day, but we are now having to play the initial balance rules. We will stick to our rules each and every day. I'm not going to change that for anything. Doesn't matter how far up we are. I have to respect the initial balance. I have to respect that right now we are in and around supply. So any longs here become way higher risk. Even above the initial balance, they become higher risk. Value on the session was way lower. All those traders who were buying dips last night before the close, they're laughing right now. They're the guys who are really in the money. Hey, Bruce. Hope you're good. Thanks for joining again. Can we get lower prices here? That's what I would love. I'd absolutely love some lower prices here so I can think about participating again. Zoom this out for a little bit for you. Probably a bit zoomed in here. Sorry, team. Always nudge me in chat if you're too zoomed in or can't see something or I'm on the wrong screen. You have to remember I'm 4 monitors deep here and I'm trading in front of me. So sometimes I don't check OBS to make sure it looks good for you guys. Okay, so still holding here. You want to see if this fails here, this will be a roll. All right, 1, 2, 3 drives, failure. They've sold this so far. Break of structure here will take you to VWAP. That would be the IB high to VWAP off the 930 print. This would be the CPI high. If they start to fail this, watch out below. Remember what we said on the daily. I cannot say this enough. Why I'm not interested in buying highs right now. on a daily move, think about the structure. Pivot high, low, high, equal lows, lower high, lower low. What do we expect? A push up and a fail somewhere around here. This will change if we do this. But so far, daily structure, not daily momentum, daily structure is still in a sell. We're getting very close to some golden zones and some supply. So the higher we go on the day, even though your momentum is amazing, your location as we go higher and higher and higher to buy gets worse and worse and worse. And your location to become a short seller gets better and better, but your momentum is not good. Hopefully that makes sense. The nice buys this morning would have been, all right, as anyone who joined me at open will know, I was looking for a dip down into here and a soak. Once we set this trap under here, I joined in. I think it was 50s or something, somewhere around here or here, joining in for these moves higher and then selling on pops. I think I was out. I don't think I even got this one. I think you all got this one. I don't think I got that one with you. Too stingy. Too stingy. It's often my biggest criticism of myself. I'm too stingy once we take that low-hanging fruit. I hate taking trades once the low-hanging fruit is gone. I like the easy trades. If I wasn't on stream, I'll be honest, if I wasn't on stream, I would have left already. I would have taken that first trade to the low-hanging fruit and I would have got off. That's the best way to trade. Identify low-hanging fruit each day, trade to that level and get out. Buy when there's blood in the streets and sell where there's green roots show. Yeah, quite right. Quite right. At least on the ETF side, I like that. I don't like that necessarily on all stocks, because sometimes there's blood on the streets in stocks because they're crap. But yes, for good stocks and ETFs, I agree. 5 red line. I think I took 5. I think I had two trades. I think I had in the end. Yeah, a couple trades. Yeah, so with your risk, just think about the size of the account, what the drawdown on that account is. Also, your comfort levels. What are you happy losing? What you don't want, what a lot of people do wrong with risk. I'm not saying this is you, but generally, what a lot of people do wrong is, say you set your risk parameter at $500 for your risk on a trade, but that's actually too much for you to stomach. So once it gets to 490, what people do is they move their stop down. They're like, I'm going to risk more now, because they don't like the idea of losing $500. So their brain goes into a fight or flight mode, and instead of admitting the trade's wrong and losing $500, they move it down to $800. And then they double down and they add, and then they move it down further, and before you know it, you've blown up. So make sure what you're risking is a comfortable amount for you. If that's $20, $50, $100, if it's $1,000, that's fine, as long as it's a comfortable amount that when it takes your stop out, you're okay with that. That's one of the key things. You have to be okay with what you're about to lose. It will make it way easier for you to get in and out of trades. My risk on most trades is around $150 to $200, and I'm pretty aggressive with my stops, unless I think it's an A+ setup, and I'm trading an account which is not with a trading drawdown, and it's an A+ setup. I will risk more if I think, okay, this is something I actually really want to get involved in and scale into. I need to give it a little bit more scope, but there's potential for this to go way higher. How many points on my stop loss? On average, in a normal market, around 20. But in this market, you will struggle to do a 20-point stop loss. So if you took this break here, if you were entering here, you would need to risk all the way down to here. So what's that? It's more like 30 points, is it? 17's even more. So let's do this for you. Remember where they are. Watching this pullback now into the VWAP off the 930 print. Remember we said common trade IB to VWAP. If we fail under here, liquidation of the stops. Let's just do this long for you so you can understand. Right, if you are breakout long here, you need to risk under there. So that's 30-point stop. And then you would have got your 2R up to here, over 2R, and held runners. So you need to risk based on the market in front of you. That risk will change all the time. If you used a fixed stop risk, you're going to struggle in this market, because when the ATR starts to expand, a 10, 20, 30-point stop is not going to do you any good. Like, imagine I mean, this didn't wick out, but like, imagine you were trying to get long here and it wicked you before going, you'd be really upset. So you have to manage risk based on structure in front of you. All right, guys, so into this deep pullback, into this old CPI high, we're watching how the market responds to around here. So notice this view up off the 930 is exactly the same point as the CPI high. We know buyers participated in here. We participated in here as buyers. So this is a key section. Do buyers step up here? If they start to roll on fail, we need to be very careful about the use of liquidity, because if we come deeper and we're in here and these buyers become sellers and these buyers up here get stuck, we rotate down. It's not out of the question. We are in an initial balance, inside an initial balance. So rotational markets do apply to this, even though we're trend up on the day, higher time frame, anything above a 4 hour, we are in a downtrend. All right, so anything above like a daily, we're in a downtrend. Oh, and anything below, we are in a bullish market. But from this point here, we went into a sell. All right, so this low created this high. We've broken this. We've turned back in. This is your first pop to fail. And now we confirm that by a break of structure. So it depends now. Do we hold this? Do we start attacking here and then go back bullish? Or is this the start of profit taking and a deeper retracement in this market? But almost 2V up here like we talked about. So very common trade there. Like I said, it's very high probability. It's not one I love in these markets. Really hard to convince yourself to sell this for this. But great trade. If any of you took that from the course, straight out the course, well done. Like I said, when I get my low-hanging fruit trade, it's really hard for me to then pull the trigger for the rest of the day. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate that. All right, guys. So trading into those liquidity pools we talked about, right? Still buyers on the tape deeper. They want to absorb this if it comes down. So down towards 300 and then down under 200. You got 200 lots at each of those. There's a small 50 bid here at 325. You expect him to get taken out. Notice how it's holding for now the CPI high and this VWAP. This is the 930 anchor, just anchored off the open. This is average price off the ETF or off the New York Open. Sorry, just got a text from a friend, made me laugh. Back into longs, not yet, but possibly setting up. All right, so possibly setting up. Remember, so far, these buyers are trapped. But if we hold this and we do some sort of pattern here, or even above here, even better. But so far, this is still in a sell. Lower time frame, think about this, we're still in a sell until we do something like this, right? So use a moving average. We can go to a 5-minute, you'll see it here. So we're looking at, does price hold around here? You have to be very careful. If it wants to search lower, you don't wait for confirmation, it can do this super easy. Zoom out a bit for you. So really we want deeper and soak, or here and soak is fine. You got to remember, when we're looking above, is there that much more to search for? How much more is there to search for above? There is some liquidity, but like we said, that point of control is overhead. We're tapping into it now. This is the average volume, or the biggest volume on the day is up here. Anything above that, you would have to say buyers above this level of 75 are trapped. Right, so anyone who is buying up here is currently trapped, or really above 75. Anyone up here, any buyer up here is trapped. Any seller up here is in the money, right? That's why I don't like buying high. Like I said, I'd rather buy higher above IB than buy in front of the initial balance. We are in a lower time frame sell now. There's your pivot high. This was the low that made this high. We broke underneath. There's your change of character. Push inside, failure, lower low. Lower high here possible. Break of structure here would be lower low. And then we'll wait and see. I prefer buys on the day. I'm just going to wait to see if it's going to give me a nice area to buy in and a nice kind of move. Maybe something like this would be really good. If it fails to do that and it gets stuck here, I'm not interested in buying this. If it gets stuck in this and doesn't absorb, I think a liquidation break is just as possible at that point. But so far, holding the deep flow zones nicely. Trying to get this zoomed at the right level for you guys. This is the H1. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. So far, holding that structure that we bought this morning nicely. This structure here, remember we bought this morning. This is where we knew buyers are. So all the time we can absorb this, there's a chance to go higher. If these buyers aren't here anymore or they become sellers, we go lower. Remember on the book, we're watching that book. The fact that there's buyers at beneath 300 and 200 is not nice to see. We're not in a, there's nothing bullish in front of me right now. As in this 1 minute chart, 2 minute chart, we're in a sell. Currently we're in a sell. Right, so just respect that. If you faded the IB back down to VWAP, congratulations. Make sure you're taking some profit here. That's a nice move. 50, 60, 70 point move for you here. As it continues lower highs. You need a breaker structure here for a lower low. Fail to go lower. Choppy. I don't know if I'd call this choppy market. I don't know if I'd call this choppy market. I'd say looking at the daily, it looks pretty good. Solid downtrend. Push up today for that reversion to try and find sellers. I'd say choppy market will be when we go sideways, and we're not going sideways. There's very clear lower highs and lower low across all time frames right now. So when we go higher high, lower low, that's when I'd say choppy market. Yeah, when we go into consolidation. If we did something like this, I'll show you what I mean. On the daily right now, like we keep talking about, that's your pivot, lower low, lower high, equal low, lower high, lower low, expect a lower high. If we do this, this is when it would be a choppy market. If we just get range bound in here. So far, not too bad. Failures underneath. We expect this to sell at some point up here and then come back inside, and then either we find bids or we continue trend lower. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're waiting for inauguration or Trump to come in, but we're just going to have to see. Can easily be the sell the news event, honestly. There's such a big pump. We filled that gap yesterday, the election gap we filled yesterday. There's your breaker structure continuing down, like we said. We're in a sell. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Breaker structure continuing to sell. View up here. Stops are down here. If it really wants to attack it, that's where the stops are. So structure first over everything. All the time. Structure first over everything. Don't just guess bottoms. This is the pool that we came into earlier and held. This guy right here. And 286 will be key here, or around that mark, if it really wants to drive lower. We're coming up to that anchor VWAP off CPI. That would be 313s. Remember, we have a bidder underneath 300 here. 200 lot, 250 lot underneath 300 lot, underneath 300. And then a 200 lot underneath 200. So I forget who said it. Someone was calling for that mean reversion of the initial balance high to VWAP. They were correct. It's a nice trade. Like we say, it happens almost every day. Something like this. Once we fail that IB high, we come to VWAP. All right, so if you took that, make sure you're paying yourself something. All right, make sure you're paying yourself something. It's a good trade. VIX finding some bids, all right, off that demand area we talked about. Low of day on VIX was 1635 so far. We said 1660 was the start of demand. We're currently printing 1660. So does it hold here, that move off the VWAP? CPI VWAP is right here as well. I've got it on my NinjaTrader right now. I removed it, but we've got it on NinjaTrader. So are they going to find that bid off that VWAP? We're nowhere near VWAP on anything else, but like we said, buyers had participated here earlier. They will need to protect this for a chance to run back up. If they fail to protect this, they get liquidated. That was a big response here, both in volume and in candle size. Still in bearish structure on the lower time frame, okay, until you take out 76. Still in bearish structure. So every pop so far selling until that changes. Like I said, I would like deeper and a trap, and then a squeeze back up, change of structure, and then I can get bullish on it. Otherwise, there's no way I'm guessing bottoms on this. They want to give back this whole move. If they want to do an initial balance rotation from IB high to VWAP, from VWAP to IB low, that would be a 220-point move. And like we said, we have liquidity to the left. That left shoulder would be a concern for me if we keep going too low. If we get stuck in here, that would be a concern to me that they use this to come and run. Point of control above, we're at VWAP right now. Eyes are getting tired already in front of these screens since 5 a.m. this morning. Now 8. Already 3 hours in front of these screens. It's trying to hold here. Structure still bearish for now. All right, if they're going to put a squeeze on, they're going to have to do something like this and get above here really for it to be classic bullish again. But holding that VWAP for now very, very well. But the structure is not bullish on the lower time frame yet. Okay, so your M5 is still bearish. Your M15 is bullish. So M5 and below is currently bearish. M15 is looking bullish. M15 and above still bullish. That pullback was at M15 pullback. If you look at the block to the left where we bought this morning, it's the same block. It's trying to hold, but we haven't gone pro trend yet. You haven't got alignment. Look at the lower time frame. Bearish currently. Higher time frame, bullish. It will keep switching between these until it starts to build enough liquidity to get an alignment. Market cooling down a bit. New hourly bar here. Got a pin top high on that last hourly bar with point of control above. Not the look you want on an hourly, really. This right here, pin top high with point of control in that wick. So change of character really technically would be over 75. You'd need a clean break over 75. It's trying to build that right shoulder on the lower time frame while holding the deep pullback and flow zones and VWAP right now for a squeeze back up to IB high. Nothing confirmed. That's what it's trying to build. There is a reaction here so far on the lower time frame off that demand pool that we traded through earlier. Really needs to get through 76 for a chance really then for a sweep and then to see what's what. But nothing, absolutely nothing confirmed yet. Right, this can still go on a big dumper if it wants. Seller on the tape at 70 and just seeing if they go and attack him and attack higher. I'm watching now very, very closely if they set a squeeze here. Watching these sellers. Really need to see it get through 76 to really think about a change of character. But in terms of a structure, you're trying to do this. But this is your key level right now up here. This is the liquidity it's trying to build. I would have almost preferred like a nasty wick down here to do it, but it's starting to look a bit better for that move from VWAP back to IB high potentially, but it's still nothing confirmed yet. I want to make that clear. There's nothing confirmed. Bear with me. I've drunk so much coffee and now I need the toilet. Bear with me. All right, so still nothing confirmed there. Like we said, it would need to get through this level for a change of character and build liquidity out, and then we can think about being interested up here. So far, we maintain this lower, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. This is your current lower low. This is your change of character. We didn't violate it, and now we're going to come and attack here. If we get a break of structure here, you'll be looking for a liquidation all the way down to 89 or 90, I would say. So sellers remaining in control here. That point of control, absolutely key. Did we just test it on that move? We did. So that point of control, buyers are absolutely stuck above this point of control here. Most of the volume on the day now, on the whole session, is 361 and above. That means buyers above 361 up here are absolutely in trouble, and sellers up here are in absolute control. For now. That's just for now. Let's also, one thing I haven't done today is mark out that New York Open. VIX again, finding a bid, same level, in demand. Finding a bid in that demand. What did I say? 1660 was the start of demand down to 1550 or so, and it's holding bids there so far. So always look left on the chart. We'll show you where price action has reacted previously. That's what's important. Just steady selling so far. Nothing drastic. No huge yank down. No huge sweep. Just steady selling since we put in that IB high. Really since 10:20 this morning. Almost an hour of just steady selling. Nothing violent, just steady selling. Break of structure coming here. And then if it does that, you should be looking for that draw into 89. That's where you know that last level of stops are. But if I was short here for the rotation from IBH, I would be definitely taking at least 70% of my position off into VWAP, at least. We talk about low-hanging fruit trades. We took one this morning. That rotation from IB to VWAP is a very common trade. So pay yourself when it does the common move. If you're hoping it comes down here with all your size, you're going to be really upset if it comes all the way back up and knocks you out. Make sure you pay yourself. You can hold 30%, maybe another 10% there and 10% there if it really wants to do it. But don't allow yourself to go break even or red on that drive up. You don't pay yourself money in these markets. It will punish you. This is not a market to be greedy in. Any questions you guys want to fire away while we wait for this market to do something or make a decision? Let me know. So equal lows there. Didn't break the structure of the last low that we put in towards VWAP. Starting potentially to build out a range here. How do I think the market will be when Trump gets in? Better to trade? I mean, I think the market's not bad to trade at the moment. Honestly, I have no idea. There's so many unknowns. Yeah, still in terms of inflation, still in terms of like the impact of his policies on import-export, how that will affect inflation, what he's going to do with taxation, like so many things, what he's going to do with spending, how much money they're actually able to spend, able to save with the Doge. So many things. So really hard to say, to be honest. Really hard to say. Coming back up to that same level we just failed at, back up to point of control. All right, so this is where most volume on the day has been exchanged, is right here, right now in this point of control. All the time we're under it, sellers are in control and those buyers above us are in trouble. If we can get over it, potentially if too many people try to sell the low, here they will be stuck. But most of the volume on the day is here. So if we can get over this, maybe we can have a pop higher and attack that IB high. All the time they are selling here, we are looking and thinking about lower prices. My narrative on the day really is still higher prices, to be honest. It's just how low does this want to go before it finds dips and traps sellers. Just think it's a bit of profit taking after hitting a very clear supply level. A very deep pullback would be that H1 pullback to 184. Scary to think about. Scary to think about. Just trying to build that liquidity. This is the second attempt up here now. Remember, this was your first attempt after the sell. This is the second attempt. Range is still very, very big. How long we got left? 45 minutes till lunch now as well. Now I'm going to get off early today, not early on stream, but those in Discord. Because my beloved Arsenal are playing the rivals, the scumbags, Tottenham Hotspurs. I won't say them what we call them in the stadium. I'll get banned. But big game today in the Premier League, especially after Liverpool slipped up last night, going 2-2. So if Glenn's still in chat, I'm sure he's fuming about that. So hopefully Arsenal can put a beating on Spurs and close the gap at the top of the Premier League. There's only a few things I'll miss the market for, and that's one of them. So continuation to sell lower still didn't get a change of character. So it's going to try and sweep those double bottoms now. So they've left lots of liquidity at around 318. Break of that should really open the door for a move to 21,288. If it gets tighter and tighter and tighter here, it's going to start to put in a squeeze pattern. All right. If it's getting tighter and tighter, if it does not break this low or does a sweep and come back in here, then we can think about longs. But really, a break of this should get all the way down into this. Right? You should liquidate straight down if it's going to do it, unless they trap. We know buyers hung out here earlier. This is where we absorbed earlier. I can leave that on for you guys. This here, something like that, roughly like that. That's your squeeze setup. How low does it want to go? That's the question. Structure still bearish, like we said. Lower lows and lower highs. Needs to liquidate this for a continuation. Failure to do that, I don't think it would fail to do that. So many stops here. It should just go and run those now. Failure to do that will really open the door for a squeeze. But it should really run those stops. Should really go and attack these guys here. 3 wicks here now, these guys. 290. Yeah, so that buyer at 290, that 250 lot, he's basically right in front of this wick. So they're trying to get this to get to here. I said, if we come too deep watching that M5, I'd be very, very careful about it building out a right shoulder. But so far, still bullish in structure. Even if it liquidates this, technically still bullish in structure. As long as it turns back upside after liquidating it. Oh, stitch. Where's that come from? Oh, my God. Stitch or cramp. Wow. Jesus. Not enough water. Too much caffeine, probably. Oh my God, I hope that's what it is and it isn't something else. Ah, crippling. Like right in my intercostals. Rib cage. Jesus. So I'm going to be way more interested in this if it can liquidate down first to sweep everyone out and then turn upside. If it just keeps basing here, it's going to get harder and harder. It's too far away since to have DOMs now. Feel all right. It's literally in my rib cage. It's like cramp in the intercostals in my rib cage. Yeah, right under the ribs. Exactly, Steve. It's exactly where it is. Try not to swear. It's pretty uncomfortable. Hey. Sticky ribs, yeah, basically. It's like where the lats, just next to where your lats join your ribs. Around there. Probably doesn't help that my dog slept on them all night in bed. And by my dog, I do mean my dog and not my wife. I'm not being derogatory to my wife there before someone makes a comment in chat. Crawford, yeah, I mean, five's plenty. Even one or two in this market is enough. If you're doing a 50K account, you need what, $3,000 to pass. Even if you separate that into 10 days, that's $300 a day. If you separate it into 1 day, that's $150 a day. $300 a day in this market, one is enough in this market, in the range it's giving you. If you just took one on this first failure here, so 90, if we get down to here, that would be 100 points. That would be $200 on that one micro. If it was 2 micros, it'd be $400. You'd be done on a day. So don't need to oversize in this market. Yeah, normally on a 50K, I take two or three to starting positions and then can build up to 9 to 12 when I'm adding to winners. I'm comfortably in the money. And even more if the market allows it, but you do not need size in this market. So yet again, finding buyers down there. Did ES just liquidate? Let me have a quick look. ES made lower low. So we have some divergence there as ES starting to liquidate. NQ did not. So ES repricing its M5 and holding. Again, view up holding key here. Breakout of this, again, will drive higher. If they've caught enough there, they can set a squeeze on. It's nasty because the Qs did not liquidate the lows, which makes it nasty. It's harder to play. So I am watching this now for that squeeze up to join this. Small size in here, looking for this. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just because we had divergence on the play. Moving my stop with it. Don't want this to come slam me in the face because it's an early trade, but it's looking good now because of the divergence. It's the only reason I'm taking it is because of the divergence. Do not want to see this come in back down in front of underneath 60. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Driving up, adding into this now, looking to take some partials for this squeeze. I want to see it liquidate 70. Taking money off this. This is the squeeze we just talked about. Remember, ES did this. NQ didn't. That's the divergence we're entering, and we're looking to get a rotation back towards IB high. Just make sure you pay yourself, because technically, this is change of character all the way up here. So 75. If it doesn't take out 75, it can continue to build out range. All right, I've taken most of my size off there, as you can probably tell. Come right back down. We'll look for if dips are going to hold here into around 50. That range, those yellow lines are basically your range, but there is potential now for a squeeze. Definite potential now for a squeeze. Failure to move lower is what has trapped people today so far. Just watching to see if 50 holds here. I don't really want it to reprice to 40s. We'd want to see 50 holds. If it doesn't, I'm just going to be hands off. Okay, so 40s now, repricing. Hands off here as we back inside range. Again, lots of stops down here. So the easier move would have been if this did what ES did, which is this. But repricing into here and holding, possibly still bullish. But again, change of character technically is above this. Your lows are here. This is where everyone's stops are. An easy move is to liquidate this. The fact that it didn't do it, the only reason I joined here was because ES did that move. Yeah, you have to, CC, you have to be very, very quick on the trigger with those and aggressive with stops, just like I was. So my entry there, I started to join into 50, adding into 55s, selling on the pops into 65s, and missed a fill into 71, and then stopped out. So possible liquidation of these lows now. Like I said, that's the box we're watching. It was way, way more bullish if it got over this. This would have triggered the squeeze. If they've just done that and trapped more buyers in, then their stops are still down here. So you have 1, 2, 3 sets technically of buyers. That might lead to this run. You have a new 5-minute, a new 15-minute, and a new 30-minute candle coming in just under 4 minutes. Now wondering if we go and liquidate all those guys. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Feels probable to move lower here. Like, you can't keep coming and creating all these lows here and not sweep. What's tricky, again, like I keep saying, we have divergence. ES has liquidated those lows. NQ has not liquidated those lows. And that CPI print, that white line is your CPI high, right? This right here. So it's trying to absorb against this CPI high. We know shorts earlier in the day, their stop was there. We blew through them. So are they going to get out, break even, and help us trade back upside? There is a stop run here, which is possible. So if this fails, this becomes, I'd say, probable as much as possible. And we know that there's a buyer on the tape down there, 290. So he is pretty much right on that wick, right above that wick, 290 with a 250 lot. So it's fine to just sit this out, let it figure out what it's going to do. We can attack it after. Internal liquidity hanging both sides right now. Flow zone starting to all converge, I should say. So notice how the momentum clouds, the deep pullback clouds, and the VWAP off the 930 are all flat and all hanging out together. All right, so once we get separation of those, it becomes a little bit more clear. Those who like to trade trend, we're not in a trend day technically. Hard to believe, I know, but technically we are in a rotation day, right? Because we're inside IB. I just think this is better for everyone if it just comes and takes out 18 and drops beneath. It's better for everyone. It's better for the bulls and it's better for the shorts. Point of control moved down a little bit now, I think. Let's have a look. Now down at 340s. VIX just hanging out there at 1660. That key level we talked about, the edge of demand. It's dipped into demand and it's holding the edge of demand to the upside. It's got way more demand underneath if it really wants to go searching for it. But so far, that pullback into it has been enough. You got to feel that they're going to snap this low at some point and go and liquidate all these guys. There's so many players here. Still in the edge of that range so far. Nothing has changed. Structure technically is bearish, but you are in a range. I'm wondering if they're going to liquidate these lows for a run down in towards that 900. Is it 900? What am I talking about? 290, sorry. So wondering if they're going to liquidate this one set of buyers, two sets of buyers, three sets of buyers, four sets of buyers, and drop. Here you go, just like that. So now they're starting to liquidate it. How far does this go? Do they come and use their liquidity for a move down into 90 or 88? All right, is this just going to be a sweep to move back up? So we can get rid of this range now. So we know all the buys at the bottom of that range just got liquidated. Everyone here. So does it move down into here? This is the next level of stops. And we also know there is a buyer on the tape down there at 290. So that's playing out very nice. Should have probably attacked that short. Very, very tempting. Probably a very, very obvious trade that, to be honest. Once it failed to do this and came back in, that was an easy short. So now coming in towards that 90 level. Remember, the buyer is on the tape at 90. We would expect him to get filled. Failure of 90, we're going to trade down in towards New York Open and the VWAP. SPY trading at VWAP right here, right now. Sorry, ES trading at VWAP right here, right now. SPY is traded underneath the VWAP. QQQ underneath the VWAP. So heaviness on the tape right now. Buyers are in trouble. All those buyers above the point of control are in trouble. What I'd be very cautious about now, zoom out. If they do not hold these kind of levels here, we go here. If we liquidate this, this is possible. And all the way down here if it really wants to. And we've seen that the last few days. It wouldn't be like that would be an unusual move. Look at yesterday's PPI print, what we did. Big volume here on that liquidation break. I really should have joined that short. That's lazy of me to not be joining that short. Nice thumper. Yep, so now liquidating these guys. That buyer got taken out. So next level down will be to VWAP and the New York Open. This kind of area here where we chopped and found bids this morning. And then that IB low. If it really wants to get to that IB low, it is not out the question. I cannot say this enough. We are in an initial balance rotational day. It is not a trend day. Okay, so we can rotate from IB to VWAP, from VWAP to IB, back and forth. ES getting very close to that initial balance already. Very, very close already. Look at the bounce on the VIX. I'm gonna give myself some credit there. I said the edge of demand was 1660, 1655. We hit what? 1635, and we're now trading up towards 1690. So that demand held up very, very nicely on the VIX. So structure, definitely bearish right now. Intraday, what you're looking at right now is bearish. Question is, do buyers step in and they do this kind of move, or do we just continue to sell? Do we get stuck under here and come for the next one? But we are bearish. Look, lower time frame trend, bearish. Higher time frame trend, still bullish technically. By that, I mean the hourly. It's looking at things like the hourly. So selling into lunch so far. Oh, that's lazy trading from me. That's very lazy trading from me from not to be involved in this. Very, very obvious move. Remember, we start breaking underneath the initial balance. There is a huge thin candle in CPI to reprice. Just remember that. Right? This, if we start repricing under here, this is very thin. This was created in news in seconds. 200 plus points created in a minute. Right? Very thin under here. Be very cautious. We get trapped here, like I keep saying. Be careful if they use that liquidity. You understand why once I see the low-hanging fruit to the upside and I take it, very hard for me to be convinced to keep buying and buying and buying unless we get deep pullbacks and traps. Lower prices here. It's trying to build out that bear flag right now to search lower. ES is stuck underneath its view up right now. SPY is comfortably under its view up. It's actually trading into that pre-market dip or that early market dip. So do they pop to drop here? Or do they do that inversion that we talked about? We'd have to trade way, way back upside now to do that. Structure very, very bearish here. We have swept some key liquidity. And we're actually, I've only just noticed that, we're at the midpoint of the range of this New York session, right? We're right at 50% of the New York session. If you go from the IB high to IB low, which is currently high of day and low of day, you are trading midpoint. Not a great trade location in general to trade midpoint. Because if you're going to risk the high and the low, you're at 1-to-1. Still got that 200 lot on the book underneath 200. Oh, my aircon's come on. Bear with me a moment. I'll turn this off. There we go. ES back to VWAP right now. SPY got a little bit further to go. So how they use this liquidity here now will be key. Right? If they can get back up here, they can force a squeeze. If they reject this, you would expect break, test, go lower. So those are the two plays I would be considering right now. But they did liquidate these traders here into 88 or 90s that we were talking about. So if it was just a sweep to go higher, it will present itself with an inversion of a right shoulder. Otherwise, your location or your momentum is saying lower currently. And that last pop, that's a big fail off that drive up very, very quickly into those flow zones. Just got absolutely hammered there. Not convinced in this at this time of day either. 20 minutes to go. Structure-wise says lower, unless it starts repricing up, and then we can think about that inverted head and shoulder, the building of the right shoulder for liquidity, which would be around here. Right, around here if it does it. Otherwise, technically, should keep searching lower. ES back to VWAP. I'm probably done on the day here. Probably done on the day here. Missing that last trade is a little bit of a tell for me. If I'm not trading layup setups, like that, I'm probably not as dialed in as I need to be. So just watching now to see how it acts. I was sort of around that 320, that last drive up. There is supply intraday above it. If it starts reclaiming all of those levels, it will build out that inverse right shoulder to go and attack back to high of day. Remember, right now we're at the midpoint of the session, midpoint of the range, I should say. But yeah, if there's no more questions, I might call it a day here, team, and go and get a workout in and a bit of food. I've not eaten yet. Structure-wise, still lower until proves otherwise. But I hope you had a good day. Fingers crossed you had a good day. Shoot, Wisdom Lover. Yeah, if you got a question, say it. I have no answer for that. Sorry. Most of you, I think, were green today. Nicely green. Well done, team. And we will be back tomorrow. All right, so still watching this for a breakdown here. You should be watching this for a breakdown lower. And if it fails to break lower, then you're going to look for that right shoulder. But technically, your momentum is still downside. Flow zone's going downside for this session until that proves otherwise. All right, big love, team. I'll see you same time tomorrow, just before the pre-market. Take care. Use hard stops. Use hard stops in this market.